SWAT teams raided the business here at 147 Walker Street in downtown Atlanta. They confiscated everything inside the business. They say they have been investigating the business for some time now. Authorities say the two men arrested for making and selling illegal CDs are 27-year-old Donald Cannon and 28-year-old Tyree Simmons, also known as DJ Drama and DJ Cannon. Investigators say they've collected at least 50,000 of these illegal CDs. From here, they'll take them to evidence, and then eventually they'll be destroyed.
Trap Museum, and we talk about the Trap Mount Rushmore, you know, it's fucking Jeezy, Tip, Gucci, like, you know, they are the Mount Rushmore of trap.
Hey man, we in here in the Trap Music Museum. We here with DJ Drama. We gonna take it from the beginning. Start off with your relationship with T.I. Drama. How you feeling sitting in this room?
Quite nostalgic. You know, when I look around, I see a brother that is very influential and important to my career. You know, somebody that I consider a friend, a comrade, a legend in his own right, somebody who, you know, changed Southern hip-hop culture as well as, you know, had a dominant run in hip-hop. You know, one of the, when you think about like runs and important runs within the culture, like Tip is up there with the greats, you know. Yeah, you know, we sitting here next to the Grammy for Swagger Like Us. I remember actually the performance, you know, that was my first time at the Grammys, was being a part of the performance for Swagger Like Us. You know, I got the chance to DJ for Tip, Jeezy, Kanye West, Wayne, you know. Yeah, so that was big. And yeah, it's a lot of history in this room, man. This is endearing.
So let's take it from the beginning, man. You started off as, we don't want to say you started off as Tips DJ. We'll get into that before. We started off mainstream as Tips DJ. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, a little tidbit that people don't know, or is very little known, is before I was actually DJing for Tip, I was DJing for Scrappy.
Lil Scrappy?
Yeah, Lil Scrappy. I was Scrappy's DJ. Okay. I went on the road with Scrappy for maybe at least 2 years during the time of Tip's incarceration. And I remember, you know, like in those early years, you know, I met Tip probably in 2000 when he had first gotten his deal. The only record he had out at the time was 2 Glocks 9. And, you know, shout to my brother Jason Jeter. You know, like as we were both kind of coming up and grooming our movements, you know, I used to always think that DJ Toomp was Tip's DJ, you know, so I remember like finding out like, nah, Toomp is the producer, like Toomp makes the beats, like Tip doesn't really have a DJ. You know, at the time, I think KT used to actually push the buttons on the instant replay, and Tip's studio, which later became my studio on 147 Walker Street, you know, I used to like go around there pretty much like almost daily, at least just to like kind of just make myself known, or keep it in their heads that I was around. I was kind of vying for the gig, and Tip went to prison, and I went on the road with Scrappy. But then there was a time I remember having a convo with Scrappy, like, yo, when Tip comes home, I'm gonna probably wind up DJing for him and everything. And obviously Scrappy didn't take it very well, but I was like, I got somebody for you. And Cannon became Scrappy's DJ, and
it's not a bad substitution at all.
At all, definitely at all. Scrappy will tell you to this day, yeah, Cannon was better than you. But the first show I actually did with Tip, like our first show was Birthday Bash '04, during the the height of the Tip Flip beef.
Anybody know how no Flip came into the game? Anybody nigga to the stage. Y'all want one? I got several copies. Y'all remember this nigga now. That time that nigga start playing like he hard. Y'all remember this.
And it was it was literally probably my first show with Tip was the same day that Streets is Watching Jeezy mixtape came out. And and then from there we went on a run, and I was Tip's DJ from '04 to '08, if I'm not mistaken, maybe '09. So I did for a long period of the time that I was making Gangsta Grills, and Gangsta Grills was what it was. I was known as Tip's DJ, and even when I did my first record deal, I did my deal through Grand Hustle Atlantic.
Okay, so you've been known to be involved in a couple of little rapper woo-wops, 1-2 steps. We're going to get to that more so as we get through these interviews. But how was it moving around while Tip was having his back and forth with Flip? What was that like for you?
Interestingly enough, when I was doing early Gangsta Grills, I had actually, I used to go to artists and ask them to host Gangsta Grills, and Flip was one that I asked kind of early on before, the situation with Tip. And I remember his lawyer telling me, he needs $10,000 to do a Gangsta Grills, and that was unheard of at the time. Nobody had ever tried to charge me to like host a Gangsta Grills. Right. So we didn't really have a relationship. And when like Tip has done mixtapes, but I've always felt like Tip has never been like very inclined or very focused on mixtapes. He's done them, and they've been influential in his career. But the only time I feel like I ever seen him like extremely motivated on the mixtape side of things was when we were creating Down with the King. So, in between his situation with Flip, like I was I played a pivotal role because I did Down with the King, and Down with the King was a lot of that was a project that was quite tarnishing to Flip's career. Right. And was a monumental project, just with Tip coming out as the king of the South and staking his claim in the rap game. So yeah, I was in the mix. Like I was there when the little scuffle broke out in Houston.
They called up and they said basically, like, I guess you got stole on. That did happen.
Yeah. Now he did send somebody. He was walking behind the car, and I'm walking up to him trying to beg him to come off from behind the car so we can get a square deal going. He sent somebody up from behind. And they hit me in the back of the head. That did happen. Yeah.
And for those watching, Down with the Kings was the first Gangsta Grills.
No.
What was the first Gangsta Grills?
You mean ever, or
as far as mainstream Gangsta Grills?
So basically, Gangsta Grills was a compilation series of the hottest songs in the South. So they used to be numbered. So it was like Gangsta Grills 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. When I did number 4, Lil Jon hosted, and he was the first host of Gangsta Grills. Okay. And then from there, I did a couple more 5, 6, 7, 8. And then after 8, I wound up doing a tape called Gangsta Grills Meets T.I. and PSC in the Streets. So that was the first Gangsta Grills as we know it today in a format of...
That stood alone as its own solid project, not a continuance.
As if it was just about one artist or one clique. So that Tip and PSC was the first Gangsta Grills that was primarily based around one artist. And then I think that was like 03, and then we did Down with the King in 04. So yeah, Down with the King it wasn't the first, but it's definitely
It's safe to say that Tip might have been the one to help kickstart this whole Gangsta Grill wave that we know it.
1,000%. I mean, without Tip, Gangsta Grills wouldn't be what it is today. Like, he was the first to help create the platform that we know it as it is today. But Down with the King at the time was definitely the most popular Gangsta Grills, and the one that was really stood out, where it was getting a lot of attention and traction.
Yeah, being from South Central, we were very familiar with the Gangsta Grills, but how we knew about the beef with T.I. and Little Flip was because of that mixtape, and you knew somewhere in Atlanta there's this man named T.I. who's not with this guy named Lil Flip in Texas, and DJ Drama is his liaison to say these things, basically, and you made it sound good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it was. And
before that, we had never even heard the ad libs. Oh, my man, New Face. New Face got everything. Yeah, New Face was there.
put myself on the back.
Before that time, you had never even heard a DJ, for lack of better words, ad libbing on top of something like that, for real. And then you had such a distinct voice where it command the room, but it even added a deeper level of substance and a deeper level of emotion to the songs.
Yeah, I mean, that was something I always felt like I brought to the mixtape game, kind of how I would bring my personality to the projects, and the things I would say on there and shit like that. So yeah, this tape was very monumental in a lot of ways. Even looking at it now, it brings back so many memories. I remember the Jackin' for Beats on here, the Pharrell and Drama conversation. I remember that was early on when I first met Pharrell, and I got him to speak on it. And then if you look at number 22, it says TIP Freestyle produced by Don Cannon. Okay. So if you go back and listen to that, it's actually Tip rhyming on Go Crazy beat.
Steps back.
What's happening, Cannon? TIP, king of the motherfucking South.
Gangsta Brazil.
Bring 24s, meals at my disposal. Still blow, throw, chill with a hoe or two. Still tote steel, cause jackets will be all over you. Whether you work for 100 mil or or two.
Go Crazy beat being Jeezy and Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And what actually happened was I had an acapella of Tip, and I had 2 Cannon beats, and out of the 2, I chose the Go Crazy beat to have Tip rap on. Okay. So when you listen to the tape, you hear Tip rapping on Go Crazy, and this was before it became Go Crazy. And the story goes, we were in the club one night playing it off the tape. Jeezy heard it, asked Cannon, "What's up with that beat?" And he was like, it's open. You can get it.
Oh,
and
man.
That's how Jeezy heard the Go Crazy beat, and then it turned into a legendary classic song.
Definitely, for sure.
Guess who's possessed? Still smell my clothes like Krispy Kreme. I was cooking them.
We're going to take you to 2007. You still being T.I.'s DJ. You guys are going through everything. And then you have your infamous issue with, was it the FBI? Is that an FBI situation?
Fulton County SWAT team and officers from Clayton County raided DJ Drama's Gangsta Grill's recording studio last night. Among the items seized, 50,000 counterfeit CDs, recording equipment, computers, cars, cash, and bank statements.
Yeah, I mean, the infamous raid, happened at Walker Street. It was what a time, it literally put me in the history books faster than I was already headed. At the time, I was, top of the food chain when it came to the mixtape game. And, a lot of people look at it like the day the game changed when it came to mixtapes. And, it was like in conjunction with the RIAA, who, were literally the same people that sent me plaques or gave me my Grammy. And, they arrested me for bootlegging and racketeering under the RICO law, froze my assets.
Hoarding equipment, money, bank statements, and even their cars.
Statistics also show that you can make up to 900% profit just on the resale of counterfeit CDs. So there's huge money to be made in it, and there's no stigma attached to purchasing.
So was it basically you just was making too much money off of this untaxed as far as they're concerned?
I mean, there's a lot of different theories and conspiracy theories to, how and why. And
it's never happened again before or after you.
Well, there's been attacks and raids on other DJs or quote unquote like bootleggers, but I think our situation was a little different because a lot of the projects or all of the projects that I was doing were pretty much sanctioned with the artists, with the labels, and if you go back and look at the news report, they say normally in these situations we find guns and drugs and other.
None of that.
Yeah, they came and fucking confiscated CDs and I mean that's what we were in. We were in the music business.
In this case, we didn't find drugs or weapons. But it's not uncommon for us to find other contraband when we execute a search warrant.
But, in hindsight, like, it made me more famous than I was. It
publicity you could have never paid for.
Could have never paid for. The record label called the next day, like, how fast can we get this album done? So, and, at the time, I remember, that could have been the end of my story. And I remember, just even when I was doing interviews or, when people asked me, I was like, this is just one chapter in my story. Like, this is not going to define me. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, I had no idea of what the future held for me, but I did know that, I was built for this, and like, you're not really proven until you get knocked down, and that was my first real like moment of being knocked down and getting back up and showing the world or showing hip hop what I was made of.
DJs, so I stand here proud as a mixtape DJ. You know what I mean? I would never leave the streets alone, and you know what I mean. More importantly, like I'm here to make sure the movement continues on. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this: with Tip then catching the case immediately after, how did that affect you then?
Well, it affected me. I mean, the day he got locked up. The next day, that day in particular, we were actually performing at the Hip Hop Awards. So we literally
here in Atlanta,
we literally had to do the performance without him. And then the next day, I was shooting my first.
I want to talk to you about that. What's that like at the height of Tip doing what he's doing, at the height of you doing what you're doing? He's on his way to perform at home in a city that made you, famous and everything like that. You guys are on top of the world. They hit him.
But his latest arrest in 2007 threatened to end his career and put him in jail for up to 30 years. He was busted in his hometown of Atlanta trying to buy machine guns and silencers hours before he was set to perform at the BET Awards.
I mean, it was shocking. We were just coming from rehearsal.
What can we expect tonight from the performance? I know, you on there with T.I.
I do my thing, Just expect, gangster girls on steroids, basically. Crazy, you know what I'm saying? It's Thanksgiving, man. Okay. You know what I do, Jeezy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at your man behind you, Dapper Dan. Yeah, he's playing, he has the jeans and the...
King shit.
Yeah. King.
Bleep, King bleep.
So the night is going down.
It's going down. It's just a warm up. You see us outside, doing our thing.
Yeah,
it's literally like you was just with him.
I was just with him. He goes literally across the street to the CVS. They lock him up. That night is the Hip Hop Awards, and I remember just the crowd being like confused, because at the time, literally this is pre-social media, so word hadn't spread of his arrest. So, you know, while we're performing, I think it was me, Wyclef, Busta Rhymes, Alpha Mega was there. And And you know, people didn't really understand like why we're doing this performance without Tip. And then literally the next day, I'm shooting my video for my first single, 5001s, featuring T.I., and we had to, you know, incorporate a bunch of artists, you know, to do his part.
B-rolls and all that.
Yeah, I mean, not even B-roll, just like, you know, just have other rappers kind of like be in the part where Tip was supposed to be rhyming. So
Running up, better believe he get it. You can see us in the club, we be tripping. Rap about that, we living. 7 stacks on 2 3. Sucker over there, hang we chillin'. So we ran out of one, so I'm back getting more. Tell shot to bend it over backwards slow. Then jack that up, grab that pro, show me you about that ass.
I do want to talk to you about the PSE In the Streets Part 4. How you feel about that? They're working on it.
I think it's dope, you know. I think that it's dope to see Tip, you know, be back with his squad and, you know, like get, you know, it's always, you know, Tip is still one of the greatest lyricists ever.
Do you feel like he gets underrated?
Maybe at times, you know, I think people were very aware of like Tip's greatness. You know, when it's all said and done and talked about, you know, he's up there with the greatest of all time. So, you know, there may be times of some underration, but overall, I think Tip is definitely credited for, you know, what he's brought to the culture and to the game.
Okay, and then could you see the PSE In the Streets being the Gangsta Grills, number 4?
Yeah, I think that would be dope. You know, for nostalgic purposes, like it would make sense.
Okay, and what about he's working on his last album? So he says, you know, rappers say they retire. You never really know. But T.I. says he's retiring with his last album, Kill the King. How do you feel about that?
I mean, the title is definitely dope. You know, I don't know if rappers ever really retire, but you know, for him to say this is his quote unquote last album, you know, he's definitely a man who's created a lot of various business ventures for himself, and you know, has you know, geared into film, into real estate, into, you know, I mean, like the food business, like television, like there's nothing Tip hasn't touched.
Because I have a passion for music, so I still will produce music. I still will write music. I still will executive produce music. I still will put artists out through my label and create opportunities and cultivate careers.
So, you know, musically, if he really, you know, really decides to retire, I think that, you know, Kill the King will be an amazing body of work.
All right, man. Hopefully, maybe we can see that as a Gangsta Grills as well. That'd be pretty dope. And the way you started.
Even if it wasn't a Gangsta Grills, just it would be dope just to, you know, somehow me being incorporated in it, and you know, maybe on a song or something like.
Tip, you hear what he's saying, man? Put drama in the mix, man. We need to see y'all back together again. We gonna end it like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's dope for me. I've been on some Tip albums, like, you know, I think if I'm not mistaken, if history serves, a T.I. album was probably the first, you know, album that I was ever actually on. And then even, you know, like I got to be on a legendary song, Front Back with UGK.
That was, yes sir, yes sir.
You know, we shot that video, so that was pretty dope.
Wait, hold on. Before we go, gotta ask you one question. Since we sit in front of the Grammy, who had the best verse on Swagger Like Us?
Well, that's tough.
Who had the best verse?
If I probably have to say it would be between Tip and Hove.
That's a good tie. That's a good tie.
Between Tip and Hov, for sure. But everybody barred up, you know. And the one part about it that we don't talk about is, you know, Jeezy was actually supposed to be on the song. So imagine.
Wait, hold on. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk. We going somewhere. Let's talk about this. We're not gonna gloss that one.
Well, if you remember, because Tip says, you know,
go see Weezy for the bird play. Weezy for the word play. Jeezy for the bird play. Kanye for diversity and me for controversy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he mentions Jeezy on there for the bird play. So, you know, I think in the original, at some point, like Jeezy was supposed to be a part of the song.
Okay. Don't let nobody tell you what you can't accomplish.
But you need to do it with life you got, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Stop looking at what you ain't.
Keep God first and live your life.
Let's get it to him, baby.
All right, man. So now we've posted up in the Jeezy section. First of all, how does it feel just being in here? Where does this take you to?
A hell of a time. You know, I mean, when you think about Jeezy or you think about Drum, like, you could literally say that's the first time a lot of people heard me or heard of me. You know, I think both of us mean a lot to each other's careers. And, you know, I just celebrated my birthday this past weekend in Vegas.
Vegas, right? Yeah, congratulations. Happy birthday, man. Happy belated C-Day.
I appreciate that. And, you know, we, you know, I went to the fight with Jeezy. We went to dinner after, and then...
Big skyboxing?
Yeah, we definitely did it big. And then he came to my club event after that. So, you know, and we was just in there, like, you know, at dinner, just kind of, like, chopping it up, telling stories, you know, reminiscing, and, like, you know, it's literally somebody I've known for 2 decades plus, and, you know, has been a part of my career for that amount of time. You know, it's just dope to, you know, like, to think back or to reminisce on all the success that we've had, and to see where he's at in life, where I'm at in life, and, you know, like, just recently, you know, us doing Snowfall, which was a very potent project.
I ain't gonna hold you.
Yeah, you know, I ain't gonna hold you. A record, you know, that we shared together. You know, him being on my new album. And it's just like, you know, even just the Legends of the Streets tour, like watching Jeezy perform and watching how that music resonates with people, and, you know, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, obviously, you know, I talk about Jeezy a lot because of his role in my career, but, you know, when you're like in it and you're like doing it, like, you don't even realize the history that you're making. You know, like, I would have never known, you know, in 2023 or in 04, 05 that I would still to this day be talking about Trap or Die, or, you know, Streets is Watching, or what we were doing. Like, I was just doing what I was doing.
I listen to the songs and I go back and write my own shit out how I wanna set it up. I asked him to do some talking. You know, niggas like to hit and just talk shit and see them as a person. He went back and did that, and I'm gonna put it all together.
Let's take it back real quick since we on that subject. What came first, Trap or Die or Streets is Watching? For those people who might be a little bit confused, I feel like that's especially on the internet, that's always kind of a common debate.
Yeah. So Streets is Watching is the original tape that me and Jeezy did. That was the first mixtape that I ever got paid for. Coach and Jeezy paid me $1,000.
Coach and Jeezy sat me down at a restaurant, was like, you know, Jeezy was like, man, the streets fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, them niggas came out for your party. He's like, I want to fuck with you.
You know, that Gangsta Grills was interesting because
And that's 2003, 2004.
It was 2004, because at the time the majority of artists that were on Gangsta Grills were like known artists. Jeezy was probably the first artist that kind of, maybe had just gotten his record deal that was somewhat unknown, and Gangsta Grills was the bigger platform. So, like, when they were passing the CDs out, it was like, this is the new Gangsta Grills, not just the new Young Jeezy. Right. And, it caught on like hotcakes, and, a lot of the music that was on there, that was the only place it lived. So when DJs needed to, play Jeezy music, they had to play it off the Gangsta Grills. So it did a lot for me because, when you would go to the clubs or the strip clubs, like, and you would hear the new Jeezy, you would hear Gangsta Grills drops, you would hear DJ Drama. So it familiarized a lot of people, with my brand and with my voice. And then Trap or Die came, and Trap or Die is like at the time, the way mixtapes would come out was, they were like physical CDs, so they would just like drop or get to the store whenever a DJ or the distribution would get them there. Trap or Die is the first ever mixtape with a release date. Like before that,
treated like an album.
Yeah, like before that, mixtapes didn't have release dates. Like when they got to the store, they got to the store. But like, because of the marketing plan and, the party of visions. Like we literally we knew we were dropping the tape January 25th, 2005. And, that shit changed everything.
I'm a hater like you. Fuck my wrist knee. Niggas sneak dissing. And that ain't how we play. No, fuck with mine. Get your drama like the DJ. Now tell me I ain't real. This AR that I'm holding got a gangster grill.
Because we were talking about the PSC tape, how that was already a collection of music that was already put together. Was Trap or Die something that he made specifically for what you and he had going on?
Yeah, that was all new music. And that was another thing. Like, that was following a new formula because, at the time, a lot of mixtapes were based around a lot of freestyles and, rapping on other people's beats. Like, Jeezy, Streets is Watching, and Trap or Die, the majority of the music on there is original music. So it wasn't him. I mean, there's a couple freestyles on there, but, basically all that music was specifically made for those projects.
When Trap or Die first really took off in the city of Atlanta, how did you know, oh shit, we got something?
Because I couldn't go nowhere. And I mean, first of all, in Atlanta, there was nowhere that you didn't hear Trap or Die. But at the time, I was on tour with Tip. We were on an Urban Legend tour, so I was going city to city, and I would hear Trap or Die come out of every car, in every hood, in every city.
I would be in Chicago, niggas would be like, yo, that Young Jeezy. I would be in St. Louis, they'd be like, yo, that Young Jeezy.
The impact was crazy. You see him, nigga. I'm on the road 4 days a week, nigga, paid shows off of mixtapes, man. Real talk, Streets is Watching, I told him.
Do you remember the first time you heard it? Like the first moment where you were like, oh shit, that's my voice?
I have a vague memory of being in Chicago and hearing Trap or Die play during one of the times when we had a show. But just in general, I mean, that was, and I had heard myself before that. I'd heard the Gangsta Grill drop coming out of cars, but like Trap or Die was the soundtrack to the streets across America, and it was like I had arrived. It was like me growing up. Like my dream was, I remember hearing Clue come out of cars and hearing Clue's drops or his voice and everything, and so for me that was like an early goal or like a dream come true to like you know, be in a city or be somewhere and just hear my shit playing. Like, it was like, oh shit, I'm here. I'm like, I really did it.
Y'all niggas didn't believe us. We had a goal in mind. Set the streets on fire. Think we accomplished that.
Into that, you guys are like basically like the Lakers going for your three-peat. This is your Michael Jordan moment. You have Streets is watching, wildly successful. Trap or Die, set shit on fire. Now you got Can't Ban the Snowman, and at this point you have an entire movement. This is about 2005.
Yeah, you know, it was just that. Like, we did Can't Ban the Snowman after Thug Motivation came out. Jeezy was the hottest shit in the rap game.
Jeezy the snowman, I make it winter time. Heard the streets hungry, was dinner time. They patrolling, hey, I'm chasing the snowman. I'm patrolling what? I said 26 O's for the 19
And that tape was more like, that was Jeezy actually going into mixtape mode and pretty much freestyling over, you know, other people's beats and things, and that's where the moniker Mr. Thanksgiving came from, because, you know, the streets were so hungry for music.
A lot of people might ask, why you call yourself Mr. Thanksgiving? Plain and simple, you know, I feed the streets. You know what I mean? They've been hungry for a while. They was hungry before I got here. I made sure that everybody ate, you know, with my projects, with my Gangsta Grills, with my mixtapes and what I do. You know, I make sure that everybody's fed.
And it was like, damn, I feel like it's Thanksgiving. Like, I'm feeding the streets, and I came up with Mr. Thanksgiving. So, you know, me and Jeezy went on a run when it came to mixtapes. I think, you know, if I think I counted it out. We have 10 total. But so yeah, we did Can't Ban the Snowman, and we did I'm the Street Dream, and I may have done one more, but you know, maybe after I'm the Street Dream, you know, me and Jeezy had somewhat of a fallout.
There's a lot of rumors spreading around the internet. You know, they said my chain was snatched, and you know what I mean, I got bloodied up, and you know, it got a little crazy out there. But you know, a little scuffle. You know what I'm saying? Grown man business, nothing crazy, nothing serious. Happens every day.
And we had stopped working together for a period of time.
You want to talk about what the fallout was about?
To be honest, I mean, it really was just, you know, at the time it was about, you know, two guys who had gotten wildly successful, you know, had egos, had differences of opinions, and, you know, just, you know, disagreements, you know. We weren't seeing eye to eye on some things, and, you know, like, we were young, you know what I mean, and you know, something that probably could have been handled by a conversation, you know, got taken out of proportion. And
the beef was over Drum had somebody that was managing him. He kind of got into Drum in them ear about a lot of things, and just started to build this toxic environment.
You know, I had people in my ear, he had people in his ear, and you know, it just went left. And you know, during that period, there was a time when, you know, we came back, and you know, we put our differences to the side, and you know, we squashed the beef.
You know, I came to a point in my life where I just kind of like started healing myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a lot of trauma and things. So, you know, and I just started to work on myself, and I think Dromden was doing the same thing, because I saw he started losing weight, working out.
Talking for a while about the project and everything, and we didn't let too many people know what we had going on, and so when we actually dropped it, you know, it felt right, you know what I mean, and that was the response I was getting from the people. Like, they was happy to see us do what we came to do, you know, and we was off that bullshit.
Squash the beef, and you know, the plan was originally for me to do Trap or Die too, but we were still kind of fixing our relationship at the time.
Right.
And you know, when he originally asked me to do Trap or Die too, like, it didn't, like, we hadn't gotten to a space where, you know, we later got to. Right. And you know, honestly, like, the best person, if it wasn't to be DJ Drama, to do Trap or Die 2 is Don Cannon. And you know, I think that they made a classic. A tape.
At any point in that, did you ever look like, damn, I wish it could have been me?
No, not really. Because, you know, Jeezy, like, after our fallout, you know, he went and did a couple mixtapes with other DJs. And for me, I used to, like, at the time, you know, me and Cannon were going through our own little thing. Right. And I used to always wonder, like, why doesn't he get Cannon? Like, that would be the smartest thing to do. Right. So when they did finally do it, for me, it was like, okay, now they thinking. Right, like, finally they did what they've been supposed to do, you know, especially because me and Cannon were having our differences at the time. And, you know, like, Cannon just talked about it recently in an interview.
It sounds like y'all always maintain a brotherly family aspect, and sometimes the brothers fight. Y'all can fight each other, but nobody else can fight y'all.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, that's my brother for life, you know. And, you know, in the scheme of things, like, it was like 2 years out of, 25, 26 years that, you know, we had our differences. But, you know, like, when I was doing my tapes with Gucci, you know, I was taking shots at Cannon. When he was doing Trap or Die 2, like, he was taking shots at me. Like, you know, that's like something that for a long time went unknown, that people weren't aware of.
But if you go back and listen now with the story, I'm sure people will be like, oh, that's what that was, right?
Yeah, so I mean, like, Cannon was, you know, there's really not a Gangsta Grills that he isn't a part of in a lot of ways. So yeah, so me and Jeezy, our first tape back was called "The Real Is Back," which I think we did in 2010 or 2011, which was, you know, was a hefty comeback. And a big tape, and, you know, we've gone on to do 10 projects.
All right, let's get a few things clear. We wasn't the first to do this mixtape shit, but after we showed up, shit ain't been the same since. Gangsta.
Where were you and what were you doing when you heard "Stay Strapped"?
I mean, it was a diss record, you know. It was
good hip hop.
You know, it was what it was. I mean, I don't remember thinking too much into it. It just was, you know, I mean, hip hop is a competitive sport, and at that time, you know, obviously.
Say that part again. It is a competitive sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's a competitive sport, and always has been. And, you know, at that time, they were having their differences over So Icy.
House around my neck and my wrist don't chill. Any given time, 250 in your grill. All I do is talk. You can even add a couple grand for my outfit. You act like you know, man.
Two guys that, like, you know, when that record came out, they were both kind of on the come up, and you know, things went astray. And if I'm not mistaken, I guess "Stay Strapped" was like the first shots fired, or, you know, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, you know, it was what it was.
Definitely a moment in hip hop that we'll never forget, especially in Southern hip hop.
Yeah, I mean, you know, unfortunately, like, you know, I mean, as much as hip hop is a competitive sport, you know, we're all better when we get money together.
Definitely.
And
shout out the Streets, Legends of the Streets tour.
Yeah, and, you know, like, it's good to see this many years later, like, as grown men, you know, those brothers, like, put things to the side and, you know, be able to get money together.
Hey, my nigga, it's me and you, dog. Fuck the world, fuck everybody who listening, fuck everybody in this room. We could do this shit right here, my nigga, leave this shit where it's at. We could do this motherfucker one last time and be done with it, my nigga. Let's do it.
Let's do them all for it.
Let's do it. Let's do it, nigga. What's happening? Hey!
Where your ice at? Where your Chinese rings at? Where your nigga at?
Let's go.
I'm so
What's up?
We're sitting here in the Trap Museum, and when we talk about the Trap Mount Rushmore, you know, it's fucking Jeezy, Tip, and Gucci. Like, you know, they are the Mount Rushmore of trap. You know what I mean? And like, they all mean so much, you know, to Atlanta, to the culture, to trap music. Like, you know, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the three of them, you know, so it's not like.
When you see that snowman, what does that mean to you?
You know, the snowman symbolizes a lot, you know. I mean, it was, you know, it was like, it was great marketing. You know, when it comes to Jeezy and like the way he attacked the rap game was something like new in a lot of ways. You know, it was something that hip hop hadn't seen before. You know, especially from like a Southern perspective. Yeah. You know, and still to this day, like, you know, Jeezy's music is like a religion to the streets.
For sure.
You know, like I hear so many stories about like niggas coming to me and talking about how much money they made listening to Trap or Die, or just like, you know, like, or it got them through a bid.
It's the hottest nigga coming out of ATL, Young Jeezy. Can't nobody throw the real shit, no fake. Ain't no faking in this shit, man.
You guys touched the demographic, being even in South Central and, you know, living a certain type of life once upon a time. You guys touched the demographic of people who had no voice, who everybody was overlooked. We didn't all come from, not even say a silver spoon, but even growing up in LA, yeah, we grew up in our gang culture, but that's not all that I was doing. I was also trying to figure out how to get to my next dollar. We didn't have anybody coming from our coast that even, you know, showed somebody really trying to get some money. Was all what we had as our gangster rap. You guys came and introduced, let's go get this bag.
Nigga, you know I'm the best when it come to motivating street niggas to get that change, cuz that's where I came from. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm still at. And that's my mission right now. My shit ain't to go quadruple, quadruple, platinum, none of that bullshit, man. It's to let these niggas know out here, nigga, let's get this change, nigga, let's
Even
be
outside
safe.
of that, I think, you know, just the thug motivation, like, to motivate the streets, like, even outside of, like, hustling in the streets, like, it's motivation to hustle in general, just to get to the bag, to get to the money, like, you know, and, like, my Jeezy, like, Trap or Die was really, like, a coming out for me of, like, really finding my pocket of what I was to, you know, go on and do with these tapes and talk my talk. And, you know, I say on there, every street nigga ain't a rapper, every rapper ain't a street nigga, but when you get it right, like,
Man, it's a beautiful thing.
you know, so it's like, you know, I don't know if I would be here if it wasn't for Jeezy. And, you know, we've had a lot of history through the years, still to this day, and it's like, you know, to sit here at 45 and, you know, to recollect and think about, like, the things we accomplished, like, you know, it's a dynamic duo.
The formula is pretty simple. It's just hot music, you know, skill, and the streets. Like, that's it.
If you really went and picked up that Streets is Watching, make some noise in this. Yes, sir. If you was riding down Peachtree Road, bumping that Trapper motherfucking Die, make some noise in this. Yes, sir. To my left is DJ Drama, to my back is DJ Ace. We've been doing this shit for motherfucking 2 decades.
Yes, sir.
Giving you quality street music. Tonight, right now in Atlanta, Georgia, why I invited everybody out tonight is we gonna celebrate this shit. So if this shit make you feel how you felt 10 years ago, you celebrate this shit.
Talk to 'em.
We in this bitch together tonight. We came here to have a motherfucking good motherfucking time.
Yes,
to
sir.
celebrate a real nigga.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go.
I'm the realest nigga in it.
You already got
Trap of the year 4 times
in a row. Let's go.
A lifetime supply.
Break a soda clientele.
Okay, one,
A rolling
two,
1, 2, 3, let's go. Can get about 50 and up.
And now, y'all, as you can see, we in the kitchen, man. Shout out to Gucci, man. We in the Gucci section. Walking into the kitchen, Drama, what's your first thought?
Burr.
Easy call. And for all the woo-wops who might be watching, all these are props. For everybody who might be watching, all these are props, man. Everything is not as it seems. It's all glued to it. It's not for real, man. We just here in the museum showing some love to Gucci, man. What was your introduction to Gucci, man? How did you meet him?
My introduction to Gucci was the this record called Black Tea.
I came with the time I was down with the Black Tea Boys, Never Again Ruckers. And everybody used to look at us because there's a whole bunch of us, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have a lot of money at the time. We was just in the grind, just hood niggas. You know what I'm saying? So we out there doing our thing. They started looking at me because we had the Black Tea song or whatever. But I had more ill rhymes to come with them.
Which was kind of like a response to White Tea.
All in the clothes, spin gang in my white tee. I bling in my white jewels, gleam in my white tee. Forget us, go back, I look clean in my white.
Gucci was featured on that record. That was the first time I had heard him. And then, so Icy came out.
She digging my feet. She bagging this. Is it the chain on my neck or the watch in my wrist? Maybe the ice in my ear or the bracelet. But she look like the type that can take it.
You know, Gucci had put out he was definitely like on a run. I think, he put Pills out. I think Freaky Girl had came out. He definitely had some hood classics. Interestingly enough, when I had gotten locked up for the, my RICO case, when I spent the day in jail and I was just having like rap combos with niggas that was locked up, and I was like who your top 5? Like, and niggas would be like Pac, Biggie, Jay, and Gucci.
And for those of y'all watching, we have a big West Coast region. Where exactly were you locked up at? We talking about Wright Street, right?
Yeah, I was at Wright Street.
Fulton County Jail, the city of Atlanta jail, to all my LA people watching, their version of LA County.
Yeah, so I was, and this was like 07, and I was like, where? Like, go up. Like, being locked up for that day, I really realized how big Guap was. And we had never really worked together, obviously because of, my relationship with Jeezy. And, when me and Jeezy had our differences, it opened up the door for me and Gucci to work. And, he had always been a fan, and, it was, he told me very early on, like, man, I've always wanted to do a Gangsta Grills. And the first tape we actually did together was called Definition of a G, and it was me, Gucci, and Yo Gotti. And then our first like solo tape together was called The Movie.
Monday, that's right, I'm back once again, but this time I got a new vengeance and a new name, man. From here on out, y'all call me Drum Cruise, because it's blockbuster time only. You feel what I'm saying? AMG affiliates all day, every day. But when I do a mixtape, I never really do it by myself, you know what I mean? I always got to have a homie by my side. So, who better than to get to the king of the streets right now?
Yeah, it's Gucci Man LaFleur, man. Gucci Tarantino, man. You know what's going on, man. Pulp Fiction, man. In the 6, man. Checking everybody credibility, man. You know what I mean? So I see we are hiring, man. You know what I mean? You need to hold the bags and roll the blunts, man. You know what I'm saying? So put your application there, man. Send them to, you know what I mean? So Entertainment at Gmail, man. Everybody flood us, man. We're here.
We're about to make the movie, man. Y'all pay attention. Call me the director. Call him the actor. Switch it up. Call him the director. Call me the actor. Because I'm about to go in. We about to go in. We about to show you how to make this movie, man. You Pulp Fiction.
Mixtape, man. Pulitzer Prize, nominated mixtape, man. You know what I mean? For real, man.
Zone 6, stand up. Let's go.
And I think right around the time the movie came out, Gucci wound up getting locked up.
Fulton County Superior Court Judge John Goger decided to revoke 1 year of Radrick Davis's 3.5 years of probation on an assault charge. That means the rapper known as Gucci Mane will have to serve that 1 year in jail. The judge made that decision after hearing Davis has only completed about 25 hours of the 600 hours he was ordered to perform 2 years ago.
And this is during, this is also during the time of when the internet really started to like help spread the mixtapes, and the movie was like a cultural hood classic, and there were a lot of hits on there. And
what would be your favorite track off of the movie mixtape?
Probably Photo Shoot.
If you come and see me fight chicks. When I hit the mall, it's a photo shoot. When I'm in the club, it's a photo shoot. Don't get your camera phone on, it's a photo shoot.
Photo shoot was big. And then, you know, me and Gucci pretty much like went on a run.
The thing about me and Gucci, like, it's like you don't even know when we gonna go. Like me and Gucci will talk like 6 months and be like, yo, we doing yeah, it's coming. And then we get the call like, all right, cool, we ready. And you know, if you watch how we always drop around something special, you know what I'm saying? We come up with the craziest concepts, the craziest ideas and names. And see, Gucci don't give me a lot of time. But somehow, some way, like when I listen to the music and I hear it, let me talking that man, I don't know. I hope he know what comes over me, man.
And, you know, like we wound up doing multiple tapes together, you know. We did the Burr Print, which was crazy. And, you know, this is like 08, 09, 2010, like when Gucci was literally like on fire. And, you know, I got to like, you know, be a part of that wave and, you know, really make some classic mixtapes with Gucci.
Mr. Zone 6, hosted by DJ Drama. You know what I'm saying? We in the building, Mr. Zone 6, that's the biggest mixtape of the summer, by far, you know what I'm saying? So when y'all get it and y'all listen to it, I bet you, I guarantee I win mixtape of the year.
When you first decided, like, yeah, I'm going to rock with Gucci, did any thought cross your mind, like, this may be a conflict of interest, or at that point were you just like, you know what, I'm about my craft, I'm about doing what I need to do to elevate me and my brand to the next level?
Well, nah, it was obviously a conflict of interest.
Hey, yo, what up, man? You know who it is, the one only Baracko Drama. Mr. Thanksgiving from here on out, you call me Drum Cruise, man. Blockbusters only, DJ Drama. You know, I like to feed these streets, and I like to do something special for the streets. So what I've done is I've teamed up with the king of the streets, that be Gucci, man. You know what I'm saying? Affiliates, So Icy Entertainment.
You know, because, you know, people knew me so much for my work with Jeezy. Right. And, you know, their issues and their beef was like well known at the time. So, you know, it was in a sense like picking sides. And, you know, I don't know if me and Jeezy wouldn't have fallen out if, you know, I would have ever went and did that. But, you know, because of our differences at the time, you know, I chose for my business and, you know, for my career path, like, all right, I'm gonna go rock with Guwap. You know?
So there you have it. Once again, you know, another blockbuster, Drum Cruise, of course, you know what I mean? We did this for Boulder Crest, we did this for East Atlanta, Zone 6. Understand, man, Mr. Thanksgiving.
Hey, man, I'm telling you like that, you claim Boulder Crest, man, if I don't know, you must be two-sided, man.
So that's the movie, man. Mixtape Monday, AMG affiliates, So Icy, man. Come on, understand this, how we get it in. Wait till the tape come out, you know what I'm saying? Pulp Fiction, it's over.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I was very well aware of, you know, like, the other side wasn't going to feel that or appreciate that. And,
right.
You know, like, I was, you know, taking subliminal shots and, you know, talking my shit on the tape. So, like, it wasn't.
Yeah, man, you know stranger to the woo-wop, man. I don't think any other DJ is so active in the streets as DJ Drama has been. Like, nobody, it's not a slight towards anyone, so we're not going to say no names, but nobody, as far as being a DJ, has been so active in beefs and, like, talking they shit as DJ Drama.
I mean, I guess it's the gift and the curse of the name, you know? Like,
living up to the title.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't know what I was signing up for, but here we go.
Overcome adversity better than anything. You know what I mean? That's what this culture was built on. So, you know, I'm rocking, man. You know what I'm saying? It didn't really hurt me. You know what I'm saying? My positives have outweighed my negatives. So all that shit, you know what I mean, it's dead and all this. Come on, man. I'm right here, man. It's nothing. Let's go.
So, you know, I mean, again, like I said, hip-hop is a competitive sport. And, you know, like, a lot of times when I talk shit on tapes, it's not really directed at anybody in particular, but, you know, like, just as an artist or a rapper, like, you know, I definitely have said some things that have been directed, you know, directly at individuals. But, you know, creatively, you know, like, me and Gucci made some really dope shit together. And, you know, I'm thankful, like, you know, that I got that opportunity because, you know, when the story is written or and if we look at it in 2023, like, you know, people like, there's people that are fans of my work with Tip. There's people that are fans of my work with Jeezy. There's people that are fans of my work with Gucci. Like,
yeah, you definitely hit all three dynamics of the Trap Mount Rushmore for sure.
yeah, and even beyond that, like, you know, like there's so many artists that, you know, I've touched or, you know, have had at Gangsta Grills that, you know, whether they're street artists or, you know, backpackers or, you know, like I've really run a gamut of like all forms of hip hop culture, and that was something that, you know, I strive to do, and that I really wanted to do in my career, you know, but yeah, like Gucci is another monumental part of the Gangsta Grill series.
Okay, so I do want to talk to you about this for a second because, you know, arguably Gucci may not have reached certain commercial heights as maybe a T.I. or a Jeezy. However, when it comes to the people, the streets, I've heard people in my short stay on Wright Street, I'd never forget this conversation. I was talking to these group of dudes, and I'm not gonna say what part of the city they were from, but they were adamant that Gucci Mane had more money than Jay-Z. And the argument was, but here's the logic though. The argument was, well, shit, we see Gucci Mane every day. He's done this. He driving this car. He's driving this. We ain't never even seen Jay-Z. And I understand that where I'm from in LA, that may not make sense, but being down here, especially in the city of Atlanta, being down here in the South, that's cultural currency. That's cultural currency. So depending on what money means to you or what value means to you, that could be a true statement, depending on, you know, how you're viewing things. Gucci Mane being such a huge street icon and Jeezy may have gone a more corporate route, how do you feel that Gucci Mane plays an influence in today's hip-hop industry?
I mean, you know, Gucci's DNA is
everywhere.
Yeah, like we talking about Migos, we talking about QC, like Coach and P, like we talking about Thug, like, you know, Mike Will, Metro Boomin, like, you know, like a lot of Pee Wee Longway, like
he's arguably the heartbeat of the new Atlanta.
Waka Flocka, like a lot of hip hop has come through Gucci, and just even in his influence, like, you know, I'm sure if you go ask Chief Keef or NBA Youngboy or, you know, so many artists, like, you know, Gucci was a big inspiration. And yeah, like, you know, he really inspired a generation in a lot of ways. And he was somebody that always opened his door to like new and budding talent, and, you know, gave a lot of people an opportunity and a lot of people chances. And like, you know, he really put on for the city of Atlanta.
We the authentic trap boy. We need some authenticity to this. Like, you got all this shit, like, the folks trying to, you know what I mean, copy, you know what I mean? We who they copy. It's not even our rock style, but our lifestyle. You know what I mean? Our lifestyle has been copied and put on wax. And then they really see a real nigga doing that shit. They be like, damn, man, that's really a real nigga finally made in the rap game or doing something. You know what I mean? That's why a nigga got so many fans.
As you sit here and you look around, again, I think that Gucci Mane is one of the more interesting artists, especially that you've worked with, because he's so non-conventional. He didn't take the route that everyone else kind of took that was similar. You know, he went his own way. To my understanding, for the most part, stayed independent, literally did things his own way on his own terms. How does that benefit, in your opinion, benefit and hurt an artist?
I mean, Gucci is somebody that, like, you know, his mixtapes are more critically acclaimed or more relevant than some of his albums.
For sure.
You know, he definitely took the independent route, which probably garnished him a lot of money. And, you know, he's been a part of the majors as well. But, like, one thing about Gucci is his outpour of music. Like, you know, he would literally drop a mixtape every week, you know, and flood the streets with music.
I just feel like the way I do things, I like to do things different. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing that I try or set out to do. I just do things a different way. I talk different, I dress different, I think different. So I just put it on wax.
Like, so even before, you know, the days of the DSPs or, you know, the days, like, Gucci was probably one of the first people that wasn't like yeah, I'm not taking a year off to put a project out. Like, I'm putting out a project every week. Like, there was one time we did the Cold War series. He put 3 mixtapes out at one time. You know, like he's just a different type of animal.
He's like a machine when it comes to it.
Yeah, like, his outpour, and just in general, like, I don't think people give Gucci enough credit creatively, like when it comes to like his lyricism or his creativity in music and in songs and what have you. Like he's literally one-on-one.
Okay, it's the Gucciimane. 10 G's to hear me, but 20 to stand near me. Cold bottle of the goddamn Remy. I mix it with the goddamn Crown in a Bentley. I'm jumping out a crazy color McLaren. The diamonds on the chain got your baby cutie staring. Yeah, and everything Rev Larry. I'm 45 with the Gucci man carrying. Shawty talking about me, but the kid I ain't hearing. G5 Gucci every night I'm layering. 10 for the feature, 10 more for the clearance. Take the shit back, that trapping interference. Yeah, Gucci nigga, what you thought? And the style ain't free. It's 10 G's to hear me, but 20 to stand me. Huh? Chill. Okay. That's what it is, Gooch. That's what it is, dog. You know what's happening. You have it. Freestyle flow, nigga. You know that's on top of the dome, nigga.
And not to say that other artists you work with don't do this, but considering that this is Trap News Network, I believe that, this is just my opinion, but I believe it would be safe to say that Gucci Mane touches a very specific demographic of person, whether it be male or female, but it doesn't have to do with a drug dealer. You could be that mom on the way to work, on the bus, and you got your 2 kids with you, and you got to ride your bus 4 or 5 stops, drop a kid off there, blah, 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 or you the single dad on EBT and woo whoop. He represents the struggling streets of overcoming these absurd conditions.
Yeah, and they love him for that.
Yeah.
Like, Gucci is beloved. Like, he's a god in the streets, and
He really is the trap god if you walk around.
Yeah, and like you said, like, it's just he touches a certain demographics that, like,
he inspires hope.
That feel him, like, they feel his words, they feel his movements, they love him, like, and rightfully so.
Chimney with 100 mil. I'm the Breach Squad bossing up like Santa Claus. December 16, East Atlanta Sound. Appreciate y'all. It's so
What's the deal, y'all? It's Rich Trapper tapping in. TNN Trap News Network, Rich Talking. We sitting here with DJ Drama, and today we got some news you can use. Drama, how you feeling?
I feel great, man. What's up?
Man, can't complain, man. Over here getting to it. It's not every day we get to sit down with a literal living legend. So let's get straight into the points, man.
Thanks for having me.
So you got your album out. I'm really like that. Let's get into that. Number 1, I want to give a personal shout out for the Nipsey Hussle feature. From the Crenshaw District, we always love to see Nip shine any way we can. That was love. What was it like getting that feature?
It was dope, Nip was my brother, we made some classics together. Crenshaw was, classic Gangsta Grills. He's definitely one of the few people in the game that I really consider like a friend. He did a lot of recording at Mean Street Studios.
He came out here to sit down for a week just to finish up. And I just caught a good vibe. A lot of producers I've been looking to get with came through. Justice League, London on the track, Metro Boomin. I got with Organized Noise, which is like Outkast in-house production team. And we recording at Drama Studio, so just the flow of artists and songwriters and producers that come through here, it made me want to stay. So I decided to camp out.
When he was in Atlanta, and that was a verse that he recorded at our spot. shout out to Slade who had engineered it, and my brother O who had the verse in the tuck, and you know, I got the blessings from Nip's family, from Black Sam to
shout out Sam
to use it on the project, and you know, call Blast up. You know, he gave me an incredible hook. Let Jeezy hear it. That was Nip saying what's up.
That was Nip saying what's up, right?
Yeah. You know, I called Jeezy. I let Jeezy hear it. You know, he recorded his verse, and you know, it's a dope record that I'm honored to have on my project.
Man, yeah, that's an incredible feeling. So when you're listening to the song in its entirety and you're hearing a finished version of it, what's the feeling that it gives you?
Gives me chills. You know, I mean, it's not that often we get to hear new Nip these days. So, you know, he was one of one. You know, it's crazy because my album dropped on the anniversary of his death, actually. So, you know, whenever we can help continue the marathon, we're gonna do just that.
Of course, the marathon for sure gonna continue. The project starts off with Tyler, the Creator. That was, again, big shout out to the coast. You know, LA shining big on your project. What decided that, outside of the obvious of the Grammy and all that kind of shit, but what brings Tyler, the Creator, to start off a DJ Drama album? Wild left turn, nobody saw it coming.
I mean, it felt right. Like I told T, like, yo, I'm working on my album. Like it's only right for you to start it off. Like, you know, I credit Tyler a lot for the resurgence of Gangsta Grills, and you know, I was pretty much like 85-90% done with the album, and you know, I told T, like, yo, I can't do it without you. Sent them the beat. You know, he was actually, you know, in the process of working on the deluxe of Call Me If You Get Lost, and he knocked it out for me, and it just felt like a super dope way to start the album off.
With Tyler, the Creator, ending off with Call Me If You Get Lost, you guys winning a Grammy, it kind of feels like going into the I'm Really Like That project, him starting it off is kind of like a continuance, like it's just picking up where he left off.
I mean, you know, Tyler's a beast. Like, you know, he deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of this generation, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
When it comes to LA, he's one of the greatest to ever do it. Like, you know, he's a genius when it comes to music, and like he's a hip hop almanac.
So going into your lead single was I Ain't Gonna Hold You with Jeezy. You know, we just left the Jeezy section and all that. What brought that song about?
It was a record that, you know, Jeezy, we had been working on, and, you know, I was like, yo, like, this will be a dope record for us to, you know, jumpstart like what we got coming with Snowfall and with my album. And you know, we shot the video sometime last year, and you know, dropped the record, and it was like it felt, you know, it felt like, okay, like it's about to be snow and drum season again.
I mean, because that's exactly what it's feeling like, because it's kind of like the old days. You get Jeezy and Drum collab on a single, but then you get a drama project immediately right after. It's like a 1-2 punch.
Well, yeah, I mean, first we got I Ain't Gonna Hold You, then we got Snowfall, then we got the Drum project. So it was like, you know, a trifecta of the situation, you know, and like everybody knows, like, you know, Jeezy and Drum, like it's a clear win-win.
Peanut butter and jelly. Exactly. For sure, man. So as we go through the entire project, we seeing a lot of the Generation Now artists making their debuts on this project. You want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Jack has a record on there, Vert's on there, Carvina's on there.
You want to give the world a little bit of an insight about Carvina?
Carvina's a super dope, talented R&B artist that is signed to Generation Now. That, you know, she's on the hook of the last song on the project. I Can't Believe We Made It. You know, has the voice of an incredible songstress, and like, you know, I'm looking forward to like people really, you know, getting to vibe out to her music and to hear what she has coming.
Okay, what other artists from the label are on the project?
I think that's it. Oh yeah, Lule's on there. Yep.
Shout out to my bro Lule.
Yeah, Lule's on there. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. So as far as the status of Generation Now, who do you guys have on the label right now?
Lil Uzi Vert, Jack Harlow, Carvina, Sunny Digital, Lule. We just signed this artist named Kai Cash. And we have a couple artists in the tuck that we're looking to sign.
That's pretty good, man. That's dope. So when you guys are going around looking, you, Lake and Cannon, y'all walking around looking for artists. Not even say walking around looking for artists, because I know you guys enough to know that's not what you do. So let me rephrase that. When artists are being brought to you guys, because I've yet to see you guys literally walk anywhere outside of that building. When artists are brought to you guys, what are you guys looking at?
We look for conviction. We look for talent. Artists that can stand on their own, that literally have that twinkle in their eye, that that hunger, that drive, that passion.
Can we break down standing on your own as an artist, if you don't mind? Because a lot of times we see a lot of artists who feel like, oh man, well I could rap or I could do this, but that's not necessarily what it means to stand on your own as an artist, because you have to operate a business. So can you give them a quick breakdown of what an artist standing on his own as a business looks like?
I mean, again, just an artist that comes to the table with knowing the direction, knowing what they want to accomplish, being able to make a record, make a song, and understanding the values of what it's like to be in the business. We get involved in artists' careers very early on, so we're definitely involved in the development stage. But at the same time, I like signing artists with vision that have a sense of where they want to go.
That's pretty dope, man. Speaking of artists with a visions, your artist Illuminati just picked up a feature on the Barbie soundtrack?
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking big, bro.
Yeah, shout out to Illuminati. Yeah. I didn't mention her when I mentioned artists, but, a dope female rapper that we have signed that, she's definitely a special talent, and, bar for bar can hang with any female out there.
Some dudes, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I mentioned her because she's one of the younger artists on you guys' roster, and you guys are Generation Now. And with her even being on something like the Barbie soundtrack shows that the future of music might be this young woman.
Absolutely.
Because, if you look at the demographic of grown women don't play with Barbies. These are younger girls who are looking for their next Nicki Minaj or next, whoever would be Cardi B, so forth and so on, not to compare her to those people because she stands on her own. Definitely, if you guys don't know, Illuminati is rapping better than a lot of these niggas. But with her even picking up something like the Barbie soundtrack, how does that show her star power, and where do you expect her trajectory to go?
To the moon, I know this Barbie movie is very unconventional of what people are expecting from a Barbie movie, but it's a great opportunity. And
so is she on the soundtrack, or is she actually in the movie?
She's on the soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's gonna be dope.
That's pretty dope, man. But you guys have a lot of other artists that are seemingly doing movie things. Jack Harlow has White Man Can't Jump, that touchdown. How you guys feeling about that?
It's dope, man. It's gonna be Jack's debut film. Shout out to my brother Kenyon Barris. He gave me a call. He felt like Jack would be perfect for the role, and Jack killed it. And since then he's working on another movie that people are gonna be pretty hype about when they hear the details of it. Or actually, I think the details.
We get a TNN exclusive?
Well, the details came out. He's working on a movie with Casey Affleck and Matt Damon.
Nice.
Yeah, and dropping some new music, new Project Jackman that will be out now by the time you see this, and Generation Now artists, that we look to have legacy artists that will stand the test of time, and we'll have decades in.
Okay, that's definitely dope, man. Considering that you are a label owner and you guys do have you guys' own artists, when it comes to an artist, and I don't want to say waving a flag in the sense of walking around with a chain on and blah, 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 because I feel like Jack does more than that. You know, Jack is, every interview that I've seen, he's shouting you guys out. So I should bring love to you, like Cannon, X, Y, and Z. When you look at an artist as far as where we're going to in the hip hop culture, because let's be real, Jack is a megastar. He's out of here. You know what I mean? Let's call it what it is. These up and coming rappers, when it comes to holding the flag and being loyal to a company and making sure that you're representing yourself in a way that shows that you are a part of this company and appreciative to these people for these situations, what advice can you give on that?
To the artists?
To the artists, because a lot of times what we find out in the current state of hip hop is you get these guys and they get these deals and it's like you dream for these situations for your whole life and then you finally get it, and then a lot of times we don't really see a lot of these guys go too far. It's like they're kind of here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, again, just trust the process, you know, like, you know, nothing happens overnight. You know, everybody's path is different from another's, and, you know, just be ready for the moment when the moment comes.
Okay. So how do you feel about the current state of hip hop right now? And not in the traditional sense of like all lyricism and blah, 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 but I mean everything from this way that music is consumed, the way music is presented, because now in today's day and age, it's not enough just to have a fire song. For example, you did your rollout and you know, mimicked one of your favorite movies and you took it back to a generation where children don't even know who fucking Raheem is, but you introduced an entire generation to this whole new culture of juice.
Yo, what's your problem, man?
You my fucking problem, man. You let everybody in the rap game sweat us and you don't even give a fuck.
I think you're exaggerating.
That's bullshit, man. We run from everybody in the record industry. We run from artists, we run from radio stations, we run from A&Rs, we run from bullshit directors with nut-ass treatments and bullshit scripts. All we do is fucking run.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think hip-hop is in a great space. You know, it's turning 50. You know, it's still the most dominant genre of music at 50 years old. You know, you have some incredible young talent. You know, some of our elder statesmen or our veterans are still at it, doing their thing. Like, you know, take me for an example. I'm 45 years old. I've been doing this shit since I was 13. You know, I'm having a hell of a run. Like, you know, hip hop is what you make it. You know, and I think that we're living in a time where, you know, so many various artists and genres of the culture can coexist, and, you know, I'm excited for the next, you know, 10, 15, 20, 25 years of hip-hop.
And I mean, the way it's looking like you finna be a part of those 10, 15, 20 years too, so that's never a bad thing. Being from LA, I do want to ask you about a specific artist. What's up with Scheme, man?
Scheme is an incredible talent. You know, he's actually the first artist we ever signed to Generation Now.
That was a huge thing in the city for us when Scheme got picked up. That was a huge thing, going from Sox Gang to being a Generation Now artist.
Yeah, Scheme is, to this day, and he's a monster, like, you know.
An amazing talent.
Amazing talent, you know. He helped write one of my biggest records, Wishing, and I love that nigga to death.
I could be wrong, but did he do some writing on Unforgettable with Ray Shrimmer and French Montana, or is that just a rumor?
Nah, yeah, he did some writing on that.
Iggy Azalea.
He did some writing for Iggy.
Yeah. Safe to say you got a good eye and ear for talent?
Yes, you know, I mean, my track record speaks for itself.
Unforgettable was once the biggest song on the fucking planet, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Scheme is an incredible writer, you know, as well as his own talent.
As we sit in the OG Clay room, would you like to give us any memories about Clay? Long live the great.
Man, Clay was, you know, he was 101, man. It's just, you know, during one period of time when Tip got locked up, Clay was my road manager, and, you know, he went on the road with me for about like 2 years, and, you know, we had a hell of a time. You know, there's nobody in the game that Clay didn't know or that didn't know Clay, and, you know, he just always, you know, knew how to create a fun time or a fun environment, and, you know, he was a jokester. You know, he always would have a good laugh about something, and, you know, he just was like, you know, Clay actually was the first person that introduced me to Big Meech. He took me to Meech's crib when Meech was on house arrest, and, you know, I got to chop it up with Meech for the first time and build, and Yeah, I've had a lot of firsts with Clay, you know, and we spent a lot of years on the road together, and you know, it was just a great guy, great individual. Rest in peace to Clay.
Definitely, man. Rest in peace, big homie, until we meet again. Because again, I am very familiar with you guys' team, Lake, Cannon, yourself, Royce, Willie Joe, TC. Can you talk about the importance of building a team and why your team specifically has been so successful?
A team is important because, you know, nobody does it on their own, you know. You're only as valuable as your teammates, you know. I couldn't do this, you know, by myself, you know. Although I may be the marquee, or, you know, people see the name DJ Drama, it's a lot of work that goes into, you know, putting out albums or running a label or, you know, running a studio, and you know, it takes key components, and those being individuals who have drive, who have hunger, you know, who also, you know, want to be in the positions that me, Lake, and Cannon are one day, and you know, you groom your staff, or, you know, your employees to like be as great and do amazing things. I mean, just in my years of running Mean Street Studios, I've had interns, you know, go on and do some incredible things in the music business.
Shout out, bro, Nick.
You know, people that have come through that building that, you know, can say that they got their start, like working for Drum or working at Mean Streets, and you know, like it's full circle. You know, I remember being an intern at DARP and getting trash and making food runs and things, and so when I opened Mean Streets up, and to think that, you know, I created a studio that had so much culture and so much history, and you know, has created so many opportunities for people. It's like, you know, that's the name of the game. You know, it's one thing to make yourself successful, but it's another to help others and be a part of others' successes.
Yes, sir. So unless you got anything you want to add, man, wrap it up. You got anything you want to share with the people before you get up out of here?
Man, listen, man, Generation Now Forever, I'm really like that, is out right now. Jackman is out right now. Little Uzi Vert, the Pink Tape is on the way. Shout out to Illuminati, Sunny Digital, Carvina, Kai Cash, the whole Generation Now family, you know. I'm going to keep on feeding the streets.
There you have it, man. TNN Trap News Network. We here with DJ Drama. I'm really like that. It's out now everywhere. Make sure you go get it. Long live Clay, and we out of here.
Steady. Can I run? How many miles can I run?
I give you 5. Hey, I give you 5. I just seen him do it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in a row. My bad. Watch this nigga lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight.
I can do 1 mile in like 8:30. Bro, I can get 1 mile done at 8:30 on the treadmill. All right, so you're telling me
you said you do 5 miles nonstop, bro. Runner's heart, bro. Bro, he dead ass though. I used to be on some shit too. Ain't no way, bro. I see it though. Red face and everything. That's cool though. It's just like I told you, bro. With my 2 eyes, I ain't seen it yet. I feel you. So listen, I was the same way.
You know why you was asleep? I was working out on tour.
Listen,
you was in your bunk.
Okay, cool, but hey, look, I was the same way. When I woke up,
Sonny, get up.
I woke up.
Sonny, wake up. It's time to go on.
And I woke up and seen Drum. All he was doing.
First of all, jumping rope is harder than running.
I can do that too.
No, you can't.
No, jump rope.
Bro, I can jump 10 minutes straight on a jump rope.
Listen.
Easy.
All right, so Gen Now boot camp coming. We're gonna do it. Let's do it. Gen Now boot camp. Can't wait.
Bro, you smoke too much.
That don't mean nothing, bro.
Bro, you can't keep up.
Bro,
Sonny, you can't keep up.
Come on, Drum.
Skinny ain't in shape.
Gen Now boot
Skinny not in shape.
Skinny just count, man. Gen Now boot camp.
I can't wait.
Yo, I had to Google what a runner's heart is. Dr. Never said it about me on my top Drum.
Go ahead and knock 10 out real quick. Just go ahead and knock 10.
That ain't shit.
Can you do 100?
Nah, I ain't doing no 100.
I can do 100.
You can do 100 straight right now?
I'm not straight.
All right. I say, nigga.
I can get 100 done in about maybe 2 minutes.
No. Ooh, that sounds like a bet.
Easy.
I ain't gonna lie, John.